Chapter 1, The Fuzzy Future. Kyle Richards always thought clarity was supposed to arrive like a sunrise, slow at first, then bright enough to see everything. But at 29, clarity felt more like a distant street lamp flickering behind fog. He knew he loved Mandy Carlisle. That part was easy. Loving her was as natural as breathing. Automatic, grounding, and sometimes strangely terrifying. He even thought he could see a future with her, but the shape of it blurred whenever he squinted at the details. Not because of her, at least not directly. It was the circle around her, the constantly orbiting committee of friends who seemed to operate like a shared group chat with voting rights. He didn't dislike them. In fact, he admired how close they were. But Kyle was private, intensely so. He guarded his thoughts the way other people guarded passwords. And tonight, he was about to realize those thoughts hadn't been guarded nearly enough. The dinner had begun well. The restaurant was warm and softly lit, with flickering candles that leaned toward romance and a waiter who moved like he floated on wheels. Mandy's friends, 3 of them, sat with their boyfriends arranged like matching accessories. The conversation bounced from work complaints to weekend plans, and Kyle let himself relax. He had even reached for Mandy's hand beneath the table, thumb brushing her knuckles with a quiet affection she'd returned instantly. Then, halfway through the second round of pasta, one of Mandy's friends, Jenna, leaned forward and said something that froze Kyle's breath mid-inhale. "Well, Kyle," she said brightly, "at least you're being patient. Mandy told us how worried you've been about whether she's really choosing you long-term. And honestly, I think it's sweet." Kyle didn't hear the rest. He heard worried. He heard choosing you. He heard Mandy's voice in his head, echoing private conversations they'd had late at night, the ones he'd shared only because she'd asked softly enough, held him gently enough, looked at him with such earnest affection that he believed, really believed. She understood the gravity of his trust. His heart slammed once against his ribs. Then again. He stared at Jenna, her expression cheerful and oblivious. Then at the others, smiling, nodding, clearly in the loop. He scanned every face, his mind churning. How much did they know? How many conversations had she brought to them? Did their boyfriends know too? Did more people know? A slow avalanche of mortification swept over him as he imagined strangers somehow discussing his insecurities over brunch. He didn't speak. Couldn't. His throat had tightened, trapped between words he couldn't say and emotions he couldn't show without falling apart. Mandy must have sensed the shift. "Kyle?" she whispered, leaning closer. "What's wrong?" Her voice sounded distant, like it traveled through fog. He tried to swallow. It didn't work. For a moment he thought he might stand up and shout, ask how she could do this, why she hadn't protected him the way he'd protected her secrets. But he didn't yell. He didn't even look angry. He just felt cold. Cold and exposed. Acting on instinct more than decision, he pushed back his chair. The legs scraped softly, almost politely. He took out his wallet, pulled out enough cash to cover the meal and then some, and placed the bills on the table. "Kyle?" Mandy's voice cracked a little, confusion tinged with alarm. "Where are you going?" He didn't answer. Couldn't trust himself to. The others stared, forks halfway to their mouths. One of the boyfriends mumbled something like, "Dude, you okay?" But Kyle didn't stop. He walked out. The cool night air hit him hard as the restaurant door swung shut behind him. He didn't turn back. Not once. His feet carried him down the sidewalk at a brisk pace, his mind a storm of disbelief and shame. He felt his face heating, not with anger, but with the horrible awareness that his private fears, hopes, doubts, all of it might have been topics of casual conversation. By the time he reached his car, his hands shook on the door handle. He drove home in silence, headlights cutting stripes through the dark. Every red light felt like punishment. Every green light felt too fast. He needed quiet, space, a place where no one knew what he was thinking unless he told them. When he finally stepped into his apartment, he shut the door gently behind him, as though afraid a louder sound might crack the fragile control he had left. The space was calm, dim, familiar. He leaned back against the door and let out a shaky breath. His phone buzzed. He didn't check it. He already knew who it was. He moved to the couch and sat heavily, elbows on his knees, palms pressed together like he was trying to hold his thoughts in place. He loved Mandy. That had never been the problem. But love wasn't the whole equation, not for him. Love needed trust. Love needed privacy. Love needed to feel safe enough to be raw and honest. Right now, none of that felt steady. His phone buzzed again. He closed his eyes. He wasn't sure if love was enough anymore, or if trust could survive a fracture like this. Maybe it could. Maybe it couldn't. But he needed time to think without the noise, without the expectations, without the feeling of being on display in someone else's group chat. He breathed slowly, the tension in his chest refusing to budge. He had always believed actions mattered more than words. Tonight, Mandy's actions had carved a line he wasn't sure how to step back over. He leaned forward, fingers laced, staring at the dim floor. He loved her. He just didn't know if he could trust her. And that single thought pressed against him like the edge of a knife. Chapter 2, Fallout. Kyle didn't sleep much. Every time he drifted close, the memory of Jenna's voice replayed with humiliating clarity. He'd sit up again, scrubbing a hand over his face as if wiping away the echo might help. By the time dawn crept through the blinds, he felt wrung out, tired enough to drop, too wired to rest. His phone was a graveyard of unread messages. Mandy, 12:03 a.m. Kyle, please call me. Mandy, 12:15 a.m. I don't understand what happened. Mandy, 12:37 a.m. Can we talk? Mandy, 1:04 a.m. I'm scared. Please. Mandy, 2:16 a.m. I'm so sorry if I said something wrong. Mandy, 3:48 a.m. I'll be here when you're ready. He stared at the screen for a full minute before placing the phone face down on the counter. He would talk to her. Of course he would. But he needed to speak from a place where anger wasn't steering the wheel. Took him all day to reach that place. By early evening, he finally sent a message. Can we meet? My place? 7? Her reply came seconds later. Yes, I'll be there. He spent the next 40 minutes pacing his apartment, pausing only to straighten things that didn't need straightening. By the time the doorbell finally rang, his stomach was twisted into something tight and wrong. He opened the door. Mandy stood there in jeans and a loose sweater, eyes red-rimmed and anxious. She clutched her phone like a lifeline. Kyle, she breathed, stepping inside before he could invite her. Please tell me what happened last night. I've been losing my mind. He gestured toward the couch. Let's talk. She sat, immediately leaning forward. You just walked out. You didn't say a word. Everyone was so confused. Because of what Jenna said, Kyle cut in. She blinked. What, Jenna? Then realization dawned. Her shoulders sagged. Oh, that. He echoed, voice softer than he felt. Mandy. Why did she know any of that? She chewed her lip. I didn't think it was a big deal. We talk about everything. I wasn't trying to violate anything. He sat beside her but left a few inches of space. I told you how important privacy is to me. We've talked about this more than once. Yes, but, Kyle, it wasn't like I shared private details to embarrass you. She's my friend. I was stressed. I needed perspective. Then ask me, he said quietly. Not them. Her eyes filled instantly. I didn't know it meant that much. That's the problem, he replied, not unkindly. I thought you did. She wiped her cheek. Kyle, I love you. I wasn't trying to hurt you. He closed his eyes briefly. Hearing that almost made everything worse. I know you weren't. But Mandy, I told you things I don't tell anyone. Things I've kept locked up for years. And then your friends treat it like casual table conversation. Her shoulders folded inward. I made a mistake. Yeah, he whispered. But it isn't just the mistake. It's the pattern. I can't be in a relationship with an audience. I can't fight for space in your life if every part of me is up for group discussion. She inhaled sharply, as if struck. So what are you saying? You want to break up? No. The answer was immediate. I'm saying I don't know what to do. I need time to think. To untangle how I feel. Her voice trembled. Isn't that what relationships are? Talking things through together instead of running away. Something inside him flinched. I wasn't running away. You left. I left because staying would have meant saying something I couldn't take back. His tone softened. I didn't trust myself in that moment. And I didn't want to lash out at you in public. Mandy stared at him, breathing unsteadily. I'm sorry, she whispered. I really am. I want to fix this. I know, Kyle said. And I want to fix it too. But fixing something doesn't happen in an hour. Or a day. We need space to think, not space to leave. Her eyes searched his. How much space? A few days, he said. Not longer than that. She nodded slowly, though the tension in her jaw betrayed how hard the request hit. Okay, she murmured. If that's what you need. It is. She rose to her feet. Can I at least hug you before I go? He hesitated, but only for a heartbeat. Yeah, he said, standing. She stepped into him, arms sliding around his waist. He held her, the familiar warmth both comforting and painful. She buried her face against his shoulder. I didn't mean to break something, she whispered. You didn't, he murmured back. But you bent it, and we have to figure out how to straighten it. She pulled back, wiping tears quickly. I'll give you space. But Kyle, please don't disappear. I won't. She nodded, took a steadying breath, and left his apartment with one last glance that made his chest ache. The moment the door closed, silence settled around him again. Heavy, unavoidably present. He sank onto the couch, tilting his head back against the cushion. He wanted to believe this could be fixed, that love was enough, that he could trust her again, fully, without feeling the sting of last night lingering every time her phone chimed with a message from her friends. But wanting something and knowing something weren't the same. For now, he needed space. He needed clarity. He needed to understand whether this was a hurdle or a warning. Chapter 3, Committee of One. Kyle wasn't proud of it, but he had spent the first day of space, avoiding his phone like it was a venomous snake. He checked it only when necessary, never lingering long enough to read into Mandy's silence. She was honoring the boundary. That meant something. He didn't know what yet, but it meant something. On the second day, he decided he needed reinforcements. Someone who wouldn't sugarcoat anything. Someone who could cut through emotional fog with blunt honesty. Someone who loved him enough not to care if the truth stung. So, naturally, he went to Laura. His sister lived 10 minutes away, in an apartment that looked like a pottery studio had mated with a yoga retreat. When she opened the door, she took one look at his face and said, "Oh boy, who broke you?" "No one broke me," he muttered, stepping inside. "So you broke yourself. Got it." She shut the door behind him. "Tea? No. Whiskey? Maybe later." She studied him with narrowed eyes. "Sit, talk, or sit and stare at the wall dramatically until you're ready. I've got snacks either way." He sat. Not dramatically, but maybe with a touch of exhaustion. Laura plopped down beside him, cross-legged, holding a bowl of almonds like a therapist armed with healthy coping mechanisms. "Okay," she began. "What did Mandy do? Did she forget your birthday? Did she run over your plant? Did she reorganize your kitchen again? Because that last one, I still think you forgave her too quickly." Kyle exhaled slowly. She told her friends things. Private things. Stuff I only shared with her. Laura's teasing expression dissolved instantly. "Oh, yeah. How private?" Kyle rubbed the back of his neck. Private enough that hearing Jenna talk about it felt like being stripped in public. Laura winced. "Ouch. She didn't do it maliciously," he said quickly, surprising even himself with the need to defend Mandy. "She just didn't think." "And you did think," Laura said. "A lot, I'm guessing." He nodded. "Okay," she said, leaning back. "Here's the thing. Mandy messed up. Absolutely. But it doesn't sound intentional. And, don't glare at me. This is actually extremely common." Kyle narrowed his eyes. "Common doesn't make it acceptable." "No, but it does make it fixable." Laura popped an almond into her mouth. "Look, you lock your thoughts in a vault. Mandy talks her thoughts out loud. Neither is wrong. But you're going to collide if you don't negotiate the middle ground." Kyle rested his elbows on his knees. "I just don't want to be in a relationship with her entire friend group. I didn't sign up for that." "I know," she said gently. "And she needs to know where the line is. But you also need to figure out what exactly you want from her. Are you looking for reassurance that she picks you? Are you looking for proof she can protect your privacy? Or are you looking for a reason to leave?" He blinked at her. "A reason to leave? People who are scared," she said matter-of-factly, "sometimes look for an escape hatch disguised as a justification." Kyle stared at the carpet. "I don't want to leave her." "Good. Then be honest with her about what hurt. Not just the surface-level stuff. The real stuff." He sighed. "I already told her I need space." She agreed. "That's fine," Laura said. "Space doesn't mean silence. It means clarity. Use it." He leaned back, absorbing her words. His chest loosened for the first time since the dinner. Maybe he had overcorrected emotionally, pulling away too fast because vulnerability always felt like stepping onto thin ice. Laura nudged his shoulder. "Want some of that whiskey now?" "Yeah," he said. "Actually, yeah." She got up, retrieved 2 glasses, poured moderate amounts, and handed him one. "To trust," she said, raising her glass. Kyle hesitated. "To repairing trust," he amended. They clinked. As the evening went on, she lightened the mood with stories about her coworkers, including a tale about someone accidentally microwaving a fork because they were emotionally distracted. Kyle snorted, then laughed, actually laughed, for the first time in days. Laura grinned. "There it is. That's the face Mandy fell for." He shook his head, smiling despite himself. "Mandy didn't fall for me. She tolerated me until it became permanent." Laura hummed. "Sure. And I only bought a pottery wheel because it looked interesting, and not because the instructor was hot." Kyle groaned. "Please don't tell me any more about your love life." "Then fix yours," she said brightly. "It'll give us both a win." When Kyle finally headed home, the sky was a deep navy blue, the street quiet. He felt steadier. Still hurt, still uncertain, but not drowning in it anymore. Meanwhile, across town, Mandy sat curled on her couch, phone in her lap, trying not to cry again. Her friends had spent the morning trying to comfort her, except every attempt somehow made things worse. "You didn't do anything wrong," Jenna had insisted. Except she had. She knew she had. "You were just venting," said Emily. "That's normal. Maybe normal for them. Not for Kyle." "You can't date someone who gets mad about every little thing," Brianna had added unhelpfully. And that was the moment Mandy realized something. Her friends weren't understanding the situation because she wasn't explaining it correctly. Not to them and not to Kyle. She had relied on her friends for every emotional decision for years. Maybe too much. Maybe enough to blur the line between sharing her life and outsourcing her judgment. The realization hit hard and uncomfortable. So she sat alone now, hands clasped tightly, replaying Kyle's face from last night. The hurt, the disappointment, the quiet restraint that broke her heart more than yelling ever could. She knew she couldn't force him to trust her again, but she could show him she understood what she had done, and that she was willing, truly willing, to change. For him. For them. For the first time in years, she made a decision without asking anyone's opinion. Tomorrow, she would apologize again. But this time, she'd do it right. Chapter 4: The Apology Tour. Mandy showed up at Kyle's apartment the next afternoon carrying a paper bag that smelled faintly of roasted garlic and basil. She hesitated outside his door for a full 10 seconds before knocking. Not because she doubted her decision, but because she doubted whether her hands would stop shaking long enough to face him. When Kyle opened the door, he looked surprised. Guarded, but surprised. "Mandy," he said softly. She held up the bag. "I brought dinner. Not to talk you into anything. Just to talk." He studied her, reading something in her posture, her eyes, the way she stood with her shoulders tucked inward as if trying to make herself smaller. This wasn't the bright, overconfident Mandy his nerves braced for. This was someone who had sat with her mistake and felt it deeply. Finally, he stepped back. "Come in." She exhaled with relief and entered. His apartment was tidy as usual, that careful tidiness Kyle used to keep chaos from leaking in. She set the bag on the counter. "I thought pasta might be neutral," she said with a weak smile. "Not the restaurant kind. Just homemade." "You made pasta?" Kyle asked, surprised. "Technically, the store made the pasta," she admitted. "I just assembled it aggressively." A small laugh escaped him. Unexpected, brief, but real. It loosened something in the room. They sat at the kitchen table, bowls steaming. For a minute, neither spoke. Then Mandy set down her fork. "Before anything else," she said, voice steady despite her nerves, "I need to apologize again. Not the rushed version from the other night. The real one." Kyle watched her quietly. "I hurt you," she continued. "Not on purpose, but that doesn't matter. What matters is I crossed a line you trusted me not to cross. You shared something vulnerable, and instead of protecting it, I turned it into conversation fodder. And that's not who I want to be with you." Kyle looked down at his hands. "I appreciate you saying that." "I'm not finished," she said gently. "I didn't realize until I talked to my friends, well, tried to, that I've been using them as a sounding board for everything. Even things that weren't mine to share. It's a habit. A bad one. And I think I leaned on them so much that I forgot that some parts of my life aren't community property." His gaze lifted, meeting hers. "I want to do better," she said. "Not because I'm afraid of losing you, though I am, but because you deserve someone who protects your trust. And I want to be that person." Kyle felt something tight in his chest ease. Just a little. "Thank you," he said quietly. "It means a lot to hear you say it like that." "I mean it," she replied. "Every word." They ate a bit more in silence, but it was a softer silence now. Careful one. Kyle finally set his fork down. "I didn't leave the restaurant because I was angry at you," he said. "I left because I didn't trust myself not to shut down completely. And once I shut down, it takes time to come back." She nodded. "I know. I could see it on your face. I've never seen you look that hurt." He swallowed. "Privacy isn't just a preference for me. It's self-preservation." When Jenna said those things, I felt like the walls fell away. Like the floor did too. Mandy reached out, slowly, giving him a chance to pull back, and rested her hand lightly over his knuckles. "I'm sorry I made you feel unsteady in the one place you should feel safest." The words struck him harder than he expected. He didn't pull his hand away. "I want us to move forward," he said. "But I need to be honest that it might take time." "I'm not asking you to snap back," Mandy replied. "I'm asking for the chance to earn my way back." He exhaled, long and slow. They finished dinner, and she helped him clear the dishes. The familiarity of working side by side settled something fragile between them, like smoothing wrinkles out of paper. Then, because the air felt a little too serious, they attempted something lighter. "Okay," Mandy said, drying a plate. "You said privacy is huge for you. So, what would help you trust me again? What's one thing I could do starting now?" Kyle leaned against the counter, thinking. "Honestly? Not sharing anything personal about me without asking first. Even small things. If it involves my feelings, thoughts, insecurities, ask." "That's fair," she said. "And I can do that." He nodded. "And maybe try telling your friends no sometimes? Or just keeping us between us." She winced. "They're not going to love that." "They don't have to love it," Kyle replied mildly. "They just have to accept it." "True." She huffed out a breath. "Okay, I can try that too." Then she brightened suddenly. "Do you want me to prove it?" He raised an eyebrow. "How exactly?" She grabbed her phone dramatically, held it up like a prop, and declared, "I solemnly swear to." Kyle burst out laughing. "Please don't swear anything on your phone." "What? It's basically my Horcrux." "That is exactly what worries me." She grinned, delighted to see him smiling again. Okay, let me try again." She set her phone on the counter, faced him squarely, and said sincerely, "Kyle, you can tell me something right now, and I won't share it with anyone. Not a whisper. Pick anything. Can be small. Can be silly. Just something you'd normally keep to yourself. I want to practice." He blinked. "You want to do trust drills?" "Yes, like couples therapy but dumber." "That is incredibly on brand for you," he said. "Thank you, I think." He considered. Then he said, "Fine. Here's one. I secretly judge people based on how they eat pizza. Mandy gasped dramatically. What? Kyle, this is vital intel. He shrugged. It's true. How do you judge them? If they fold the slice, they're fine. If they eat it with a fork, they're untrustworthy. And if they blot the grease excessively, he made a face. Chaos. Pure chaos. Mandy pressed a hand to her chest. I would die for this information. Please don't. I promise not to tell the girls, she said with exaggerated solemnity. Even though Jenna is absolutely a pizza blotter and this would destroy her. He laughed again, really laughed, and the sound seemed to soften the whole room. She looked at him, warmth spreading across her face. Thank you, she said quietly, for giving me another chance. He sobered a little, meeting her gaze. Thank you for showing me you want one. They stood in silence a moment, something familiar settling between them again. Not the same as before, no. Something newer, more cautious but also more intentional. When Mandy finally walked to the door, she paused with her hand on the knob. Kyle, she said softly, I'm not just saying things to fix this. I'm going to show you, however long it takes. He nodded. I know. She smiled, small, hopeful, and left. After the door clicked shut, Kyle exhaled deeply. Something had shifted tonight. Not everything was solved, not even close. But for the first time since the restaurant, the fog over the future felt thinner. Not gone, just penetrated by a thin, steady beam of light. He could work with that. Chapter 5, Redefining the Rules. Kyle wasn't sure whether it was optimism or naivete that made him agree to Mandy's idea. A gentle re-entry into her social world by meeting just one friend instead of all of them at once. It felt like trying to dip a toe into cold water instead of diving in head first. Less shock, maybe more control. Still, he double-checked himself in the mirror before leaving his apartment, tugging at the hem of his shirt like a man preparing for a job interview. It's not a test, he reminded himself. It's just a lunch. Mandy met him outside the cafe, bundled in a denim jacket and scarf despite the mild weather. Her smile lit up as soon as she saw him. Hey, hey, he replied, feeling something warm stir in his chest. She reached for his hand but paused, giving him choice. He appreciated the pause. He took her hand. Inside, Jenna was already seated, browsing the menu with an intensity normally reserved for tax forms. When she spotted them, she straightened abruptly. Kyle, she said, overly cheerful. So glad you're here. He shook her hand politely. Good to see you, Jenna. Mandy squeezed his fingers once before letting go and sliding into the seat beside him. Jenna's enthusiasm dimmed just enough to seem more natural. Thanks for coming, she said. And just so you know, I'm on my best behavior. Mandy briefed me. Oh God, Mandy muttered. Please don't call it a briefing. Jenna grinned. Sensitive information. High stakes. Romance diplomacy. Kyle chuckled despite the knot in his stomach. The conversation started awkwardly but eventually eased into something resembling normalcy. Jenna made a conscious effort to keep the topics neutral: work, mutual friends' pets, her accidental attempt at sourdough that resulted in what she described as a bread-shaped crime scene. At one point, she shot Mandy a quick glance and then said, Hey, I know I said some stuff the other night that clearly landed wrong. I didn't mean to intrude or make you uncomfortable. I'm really sorry. Kyle blinked at her. Sincerity from Jenna felt unexpected. Thank you, he said. I appreciate it. And I promise, Jenna added, holding up a hand, I'm on a strict need-to-not-know basis now. Mandy explained how important privacy is for you. I get it. Mandy glanced at Kyle, cheeks faintly pink but proud. He offered a small nod. Thanks. That means a lot. The rest of the lunch flowed more easily. Kyle even found himself laughing, genuinely, at the story of Jenna's neighbor who insisted their cat could communicate in full sentences, all of which apparently demanded premium tuna. When lunch ended and Jenna waved goodbye, Kyle and Mandy walked to the parking lot together. She looked at him with cautious optimism. How'd that feel? He considered. Better than expected. Better good or better tolerable? He smiled. Better good. She let out a relieved breath. Okay, good. That's good. They stood beside his car for a moment before she stepped closer. I know this doesn't fix everything. It's not supposed to. I just wanted you to see that your boundaries matter to me. I did see, he said gently. Thank you. Her eyes softened. You want to hang out a little longer? Maybe walk around the park? No committees. No social experiments. He hesitated only out of habit but nodded. Yeah, I'd like that. They walked through the park, weaving between families, joggers, and couples lounging on blankets. A musician played soft guitar near a fountain. The air smelled faintly of grass and roasted chestnuts from a nearby vendor. Mandy slipped her hand into his again. Not tentative this time, but quietly sure. He accepted it without thinking. You know, she said, swinging their joined hands lightly, I've been paying attention. To what? To what I share. What I don't. What's mine. What's ours. He glanced at her. How's that going? She scrunched her nose adorably. Terrible at first. I caught myself almost telling Emily something on the phone yesterday. Then I remembered. And I stopped. And it felt weird. And then good. He arched an eyebrow. Good. Yeah. Like I wasn't outsourcing my relationship decisions. Like I was actually keeping something private by choice. Not for you, but for me. That surprised him. For you? Yeah. She shrugged. I realized I was letting them in because I didn't trust myself to handle things alone. That's on me, not them. And definitely not you. A warmth spread through his chest. Unexpected. Grounding. Thank you for telling me that. She nudged his shoulder playfully. Don't get mushy. I can only handle one emotionally mature moment per afternoon. He laughed. Noted. They walked until the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the path. When they returned to his car, Mandy stopped him before he could open the door. Kyle? Yeah. She stepped close, looping her arms around his waist. I've missed you. He exhaled softly, resting his hands on her hips. I've missed you too. Can I kiss you? She asked. The question, gentle, respectful, intentional, hit him harder than the kiss itself when he leaned down and pressed his lips to hers. The kiss wasn't urgent. It was warm, reassuring, familiar, with a spark that felt like rediscovery rather than routine. When they pulled back, she whispered, I want us to get this right. We will, he said. One step at a time. Even if they're tiny steps? As long as they're real. She grinned, standing on her toes to kiss him once more. Quicker this time. Good, because I'm all in on tiny steps. He opened her car door for her, something he rarely did but felt right in the moment. She smiled at the gesture, not making a joke about it, which told him more than any words could have. Before they parted ways, Mandy said softly, today felt good. Yeah, he agreed. It did. As he drove home, Kyle realized that the heavy tension he'd been carrying for days had shifted into something lighter. Not fixed, not forgotten, but transforming. Trust wasn't a switch. It was a scale. Today, the weight had tilted in their favor. Chapter 6, The Backslide. By the time the weekend rolled around, Kyle felt cautiously optimistic. Not fixed, not fully healed, but steadier. He and Mandy had been texting, not constantly, but with a gentle, deliberate rhythm that felt healthier than their old patterns. They'd agreed to see each other Saturday afternoon to browse a local street market, something neutral and easy. When he arrived, she was waiting near a row of handmade jewelry stalls, bundled in a light jacket and beaming when she spotted him. There you are, she said, looping her arm through his as naturally as breathing. I found a vendor selling coffee that tastes like dessert. We're getting some. He grinned. Lead the way. The market was lively. Crowds weaving through rows of stalls, music drifting from a small speaker someone had set up, the smell of fried dough hanging temptingly in the air. For a while, Kyle relaxed into the moment. He liked the way Mandy walked slightly closer than necessary, as if making sure he knew she was there. He liked the way she nudged him with her shoulder whenever she made a joke. He liked her. Everything felt light, easy, warm until it didn't. They were standing at a booth selling handmade candles when Mandy's friend Brianna appeared seemingly out of nowhere, calling, Mandy! Hey! Mandy turned, startled but smiling. Bri! Hi! Kyle stiffened, but Mandy gently squeezed his hand. A silent I've got this. He appreciated it. Brianna launched into a quick recap of her day, then eyed the candles. Oh, are you getting one of these? They're amazing. I bought one last week when Mandy told us about. She stopped abruptly, eyes flicking to Kyle. Kyle's stomach tightened. When she told you about what? He asked, keeping his tone neutral. Brianna froze. Mandy instantly shot her a panicked look. Bri, she said quietly. Don't. But it was too late. Brianna's expression shifted in a way that told Kyle everything he needed to know. Someone had said something. Maybe not big. Maybe not catastrophic. But something. Okay, Kyle said slowly. What did she tell you? Mandy stepped forward, voice steady but tight. It wasn't like before, I swear. I didn't tell them what you said. I didn't share anything personal. I just mentioned that we talked things out and we were being careful. That's it. That's it? He asked. Yes, she insisted. Brianna nodded vigorously. Seriously, that's all. She didn't get into details. Kyle believed her. But belief didn't erase the sting of hearing that Mandy had discussed anything at all, even something minor, with her friends so soon after promising otherwise. Mandy noticed the shift in his posture instantly. Her voice softened. Kyle, I'm sorry. I didn't think saying that was crossing a line. I wasn't talking about your feelings or anything personal. You just told them we were being careful, he said. Not accusing, just processing. She winced. Yeah. And why did they need to know that? Mandy opened her mouth, then shut it. She didn't have a good answer. That was the worst part. Brianna, sensing she'd stepped into emotional quicksand, gave an awkward half-wave. I should go. Bye. She slipped away, leaving them in the flickering glow of dozens of scented candles. Kyle took a slow breath. Mandy, I'm not angry. I'm just confused. We talked about this. I know, she said immediately. I know. And I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't share anything private. But I should have kept even that between us. I'm still learning the line. He rubbed the back of his neck. It feels like the old pattern all over again. Her face crumpled. Kyle, no. It's not. I swear it's not. That wasn't me venting or asking their advice. It was literally just me telling them we were okay. But that wasn't theirs to know. The words hung between them, gentle but powerful. She swallowed hard. You're right. He blinked. What? You're right, she repeated, quieter. I got too comfortable. I told myself I wasn't sharing anything meaningful. But that's not the point. I said I'd be more careful. I said I'd respect our privacy. And I slipped. It wasn't intentional. But it still happened. Kyle softened a little. Her honesty disarmed him. I'm not trying to nitpick. I know you're not, she said. You're trying to protect something important to you. And I want to protect it too. I just messed up. He exhaled, tension loosening. Thank you for saying that. She stepped closer, eyes searching his. I don't want you to feel like you're dating me and my friend group. I want you to feel like you're dating me. Just me. No commentary from the peanut gallery. And I'm trying, Kyle. Really trying. I can see that, he admitted. And today isn't the same as before. It just threw me. She nodded, relief and regret blending together. I get that. Tell me what you need right now. Not forever. Just right now. He thought for a moment. Just keep the rest of today between us. No summaries to anyone. No updates. Her hand reached for his, warm and sure. I promise. And maybe, he added, let's keep plans simple today. Just walk. Talk. No more surprise friend encounters. Absolutely not, she said. I'm banning civilians from the rest of the outing. He snorted despite himself. Civilians. She squeezed his hand. It's wartime. He shook his head, smiling despite the emotional bruise forming under the surface. They walked toward the quieter end of the market, letting the noise fade behind them. She didn't push conversation on him. She didn't fill the silence. She just walked with him, matching his pace, adjusting when he slowed. After a few minutes, he said softly, this doesn't undo everything we've built these past few days. I'm glad, she whispered. But it does remind me we need to work on how we communicate about us. She nodded firmly. I agree. And it means I need to trust that you're not just saying the right things, you're showing them. She looked up at him, eyes bright with determination. Then let me show you. And for the rest of the afternoon, she did. She didn't look at her phone. She didn't bring up her friends. She didn't push him to talk more than he wanted. Instead, she laughed with him, teased him gently, held his hand like she knew what it meant to have it offered freely. By the time the sun dipped low and the market lights began to glow, Kyle realized something important. A setback wasn't a collapse. And Mandy was still fighting, really fighting, to meet him where he needed her. Chapter 7, The Turning Point. It was amazing how quickly misunderstandings could pile up when two people were trying not to upset each other. For the next 3 days after the market incident, Kyle and Mandy communicated like two extremely polite diplomats walking barefoot over broken glass. Every message was carefully worded. Every phone call felt like it tiptoed around the edges of unspoken worries. They weren't arguing, they were avoiding arguing, which was somehow worse. By Thursday evening, Kyle felt like he was living in a quiet emotional fog. Not as heavy as the first night after the restaurant, but thick enough to unsettle him. He missed the easy rhythm he and Mandy used to have, even with the flaws. He missed her, but he was also afraid to step forward too quickly and ruin the slow progress they'd made. Mandy, meanwhile, sat at her kitchen table, chin in her palms, staring at her phone. Why is being considerate so hard? She muttered. Her friend group, normally loud, opinionated, and impossible to ignore, was unusually quiet after she told them firmly, and very un-Mandy-like, that she didn't want to talk about Kyle with them anymore. Emily had blinked. Is everything okay? Yes, Mandy said. But this is between me and him. Not me and you guys. Brianna, who still felt guilty about the candle stall incident, nodded sympathetically. I get it. I support it. Even if I'm confused. I don't need you to understand it, Mandy replied gently. I just need you to respect it. Jenna, surprisingly, had given her a small, proud smile. That's actually kind of big for you. And Mandy had realized it was big, hard, uncomfortable, but necessary. Now, 2 days later, she sat staring at her phone like it held the secrets of the universe. Okay, she told herself, texting isn't going to fix this. Words aren't going to fix this. You need to actually do something. She grabbed her keys, stood up, then sat back down immediately. No, don't just show up at his place like a chaos fairy. She paused. At least not without a plan. Then the idea came to her, and once it did, she didn't hesitate. She sent him a message. Can we talk? Not heavy talk. Just real talk. Tonight? Kyle read the message twice. Something about her tone felt grounded this time. Not afraid, not hesitant, just honest. Yeah, he replied. Come over. She arrived 20 minutes later, hair loosely tied back, wearing a soft, oversized sweater that swallowed her hands. She stepped inside quietly, without the usual burst of energy. Hi, she said. Hi, Kyle replied. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, close enough to touch, far enough not to assume anything. Mandy took a breath. Okay, she began. I need to say something, and I'm going to try not to ramble, but I make no promises. He gave her a faint smile. Go ahead. She straightened her shoulders. I've been trying so hard not to repeat my mistakes that I accidentally made everything weird. I've been scared of disappointing you again, and scared of saying the wrong thing, and scared of doing the wrong thing, and it all just... She waved her hands. Made me weird, and awkward, and not helpful. Kyle's brows lifted slightly. You're not the only one who's been tense. I know, she said softly. And that's why we need to reset. Not pretend nothing happened. Just reset how we're talking to each other. He nodded slowly. I'd like that. She took another breath. I also did something today. Kyle tilted his head. Should I be concerned? Probably not, she said. But maybe a little impressed. He raised an eyebrow. I told my friends, she said, that I'm drawing a new boundary. That anything involving our relationship stays between us unless I specifically ask your permission first. Kyle stared at her, taken aback. Mandy, you didn't have to make some big announcement. I know, she said, but I wanted to show you, not tell you, that I'm not messing around about this, that I'm choosing you, that your privacy matters to me, enough to risk making things awkward with people I've relied on for years. There was no dramatic flourish, no exaggerated tone, just sincerity. Kyle felt something inside him soften deeply. Thank you, he said, meaning it. That means a lot. She nodded, eyes shimmering but steady. They took it okay, by the way, a little shocked, but supportive, and it felt good, like I did something grown up for the right reasons. He smiled. You did. She closed the distance between them a little, drawing one leg up under herself. And I want us to have normal conversations again. Not the careful spacing thing we've been doing. I miss talking to you. Really talking. Kyle leaned back, letting her words settle. I miss that too. She reached out slowly and touched his hand. Can we try? Not to fix everything tonight, just to talk without walking on eggshells. He turned his hand over, interlacing their fingers. Yeah, we can try. The tension in the room shifted, eased. Not dissolved, but transformed into something lighter. Something hopeful. They talked for nearly 2 hours. Not about the past week. Not about mistakes or boundaries or hurt feelings. They talked about nothing and everything. The street market vendors, a terrible movie trailer Kyle saw online, Mandy's coworker who claimed her cat could sense earthquakes, Kyle's childhood obsession with model airplanes. They teased each other. They laughed. They remembered what it felt like to be a couple, not a conflict resolution committee. At one point, Kyle made a sarcastic comment about his teenage fashion choices, and Mandy laughed so hard she snorted. He stared at her. Did you just? No, she said, instantly mortified. You did, he said, grinning. It was a dignified snort, she declared. There's no such thing. She shoved his shoulder lightly, laughing again, and the sound hit him like warmth spreading through cold. This was them. When the conversation finally lulled, she shifted closer, laying her head on his shoulder. He didn't move away, didn't hesitate. Kyle? She murmured. Yeah. She slid her hand into his. I know trust isn't fixed in a week, but I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not going to stop trying. He rested his cheek on her hair. I know, and we're going to have setbacks. I'm probably going to screw up again. I might too, he admitted. She smiled softly. So, let's just promise to tell each other. Not bottle it. Not panic. Not assume. He nodded. I can do that. She looked up at him, eyes warm. Good. Because I really, really want this to work. He met her gaze, feeling the truth of it settle into his chest. So do I. The moment stretched. Quiet, calm, and finally without fear. Mandy leaned up and kissed him gently. A soft brush of lips asking a question he answered without hesitation. When they pulled back, she whispered, Thank you for giving us another chance. Kyle tucked a lock of hair behind her ear. Thank you for proving you want one. And there it was, the turning point. Not dramatic, not explosive, just real. Two people choosing each other again, not because it was easy, but because it mattered. Chapter 8, The Gesture. Saturday evening arrived with the kind of cool, quiet air that made the city feel gentler than usual. The street lamps flickered on one by one, casting warm halos along the sidewalk. Kyle was just settling onto his couch with a book when his phone buzzed. Mandy, can you come outside? Nothing dramatic. Promise. He stared at the message for a moment, curiosity mixing with a faint anxiety. Then he grabbed his jacket and headed down the stairs. When he stepped out onto the sidewalk, he saw her standing there. A little nervous, a little excited, hands tucked into her jacket pockets. She gave him a hopeful smile. Hi. He smiled back. Hi. What's going on? I want to take you somewhere. She gestured down the street. Just a walk. Nothing intense. I swear. He studied her face, open, earnest. Okay. They started walking, side by side, the comfortable silence of people who didn't feel the need to fill every empty moment. A soft breeze rustled the leaves overhead. After half a block, Mandy said lightly, I know you think I planned something chaotic. You usually do. True, she admitted. But tonight is intentional chaos. Kyle snorted. That sounds reassuring. She nudged his shoulder. You'll live. They walked toward the river, where the city lights shimmered across the water like scattered gold. The path was quiet except for a few joggers and a couple sitting on a bench sharing a milkshake. Mandy slowed near a railing, turning to him. Her expression shifted, calm, focused, sincere. Okay, she said softly. So, I wanted to show you something. He raised an eyebrow. Show me what? She pulled out her phone. Not to text, not to scroll, but to hand it to him. He blinked. You want me to hold your phone? No, she said gently. I want you to read something. On the screen was a short list of names, her friends. Underneath each name were bullet points, boundaries, expectations, topics that were no longer up for discussion. He looked up at her, stunned. Mandy, what is this? It's what I told them, she said. Yesterday, and today. And I'm telling you now because I meant every word. She took a breath. I told them I love them, but they don't get to be inside our relationship anymore. I told them your privacy isn't optional, it's non-negotiable. I told them if they want to be part of my life, they need to respect the parts of my life that I keep separate. Kyle's chest tightened, not painfully, but with something warm and overwhelming. And, she continued, I told them that if they ever bring up something about you that I didn't explicitly tell them they could, I will walk away from the conversation. Every time. No exceptions. He stared at her, speechless. Mandy lowered her gaze. It wasn't easy. They were surprised. A little defensive at first. But they understood. And they supported me because they know I'm serious about this. About you. About us. Kyle exhaled slowly. Mandy, you didn't have to. Yes, she interrupted softly. I did. She met his eyes again, her voice quiet but steady. I didn't understand how much this mattered to you before. Not really. I thought love meant sharing everything with the people closest to me. She paused. But I didn't realize that sometimes love means protecting things, keeping some parts sacred. He moved closer, the rail pressing lightly against his hip. And you're sure this is what you want? I'm certain, she said, because I don't want a committee. I don't want people analyzing us. I want you, and I want us to make decisions together without outside voices getting in the way. Kyle swallowed, throat tight. That's a lot. It's honest, she whispered. He looked down at the phone again. The words she'd written, the boundaries she'd drawn. Clear, deliberate, unprompted. Actions, not words. His heart tugged toward her. She stepped closer, voice barely above a whisper. I know I messed up. I know trust doesn't rebuild overnight. But I want to show you, every day if I have to, that I choose you. Not them. Not their opinions. You. Kyle let out a shaky breath. Mandy. She reached for his hand hesitantly, waiting for him to take hers. He did. She smiled softly. Come with me. There's one more thing. She led him across the walkway to a small overlook above the river. She pointed downward. There, painted on the railing in tiny, neat letters, was a quote he'd once told her he loved. A quote he'd shared on one of those rare nights when he was open enough to let her see the softer parts of him. Love is a quiet choice, made again and again. He stared at the words, then at her. You remembered that? I remember everything that matters, she said. Kyle didn't speak. He stepped toward her instead, cupping her face gently with both hands, and kissed her. Not urgently, not desperately, but with a slow, deep warmth that felt like a door opening after being stuck for too long. When they finally parted, she rested her forehead against his. So, was this gesture too much? He shook his head. No, it was exactly right. They stood there for a moment, the city lights glowing around them, her hands warm against his chest. Kyle? She murmured. Yeah, I don't want to fix us. I want to build us, better than before. He smiled, brushing a thumb along her cheek. Then let's build. She kissed him again, soft, certain, and full of promise. And for the first time in weeks, the future didn't feel fuzzy. Felt possible. Chapter 9, The New Normal. Kyle woke up Monday morning with an unfamiliar feeling. Something between calm and anticipation. It wasn't dramatic or sweeping, but it was steady, like the first sign of balance returning after a long stretch of wavering ground. Mandy's gesture at the river had settled something deeper than he'd expected. He caught himself smiling while brushing his teeth and immediately rolled his eyes at himself. Get it together, he muttered at his reflection. You're not in a rom-com montage. Still, he smiled again. Later that afternoon, Mandy texted him a selfie from her office break room. Eyes wide, holding a banana like a telephone. Mandy, important business call. We'll update you on results. He chuckled and replied, tell the banana I said hi. She sent back a dramatic gasp face emoji. Mandy, he heard you. He's flattered. The lightness of the exchange didn't erase the past, but it reminded him of who they were underneath everything. Two people who genuinely liked each other's company. Later that evening, they met for dinner at a small Thai restaurant they'd always passed but never tried. The place was warm inside, lanterns hanging from the ceiling in soft rings of color. Mandy arrived first and waved him over with a grin. "You're just in time," she announced. "I ordered drinks. One of them is a gamble." "Oh boy," Cal said, sliding into the booth. "Define gamble." She pointed proudly at a glass filled with something bright green. "Matcha lime spritzer." Cal blinked. "Why?" "Because it could either be delicious or taste like a health-conscious swamp. And I like living dangerously." "You ate stale pretzels out of your car yesterday," he reminded her. "That was also dangerous," she agreed. "In a different way." He took a sip of the spritzer. "It tastes like a key lime pie fell into a lawn mower." "Exactly," she said, delighted. Dinner went smoothly. Easy chatter, playful comments. A few lingering glances that reminded Kyle how much he'd missed the softness between them. Every time the conversation drifted toward heavier topics, Mandy gently steered it back. Not ignoring, not avoiding, just pacing. After dinner, they walked back toward his car under the streetlights. Mandy slipped her arm through his again, humming softly. "Kyle," she said after a moment, "can I ask something kind of personal but not invasive?" He laughed. "Those are usually your famous last words before a very invasive question." "No, I promise." She held up a hand. "Trust-friendly question only." He nodded. "Okay, ask. What does trust look like for you? Day to day, I mean." He slowed his pace, thinking. "It's consistency, honesty, and respect. Not perfection, just respect. If I tell someone something matters to me, I need to see that matching in how they act." Mandy nodded slowly, absorbing his words. "I can do that. I want to do that." He smiled. "I know." She bumped her shoulder lightly into his. "Your turn. Ask me something." "Okay." He considered, then asked, "What does feeling supported look like for you?" She blinked, touched. I guess being seen. Being taken seriously even when I'm being ridiculous. Knowing the person I'm with isn't waiting for me to fail." He reached over, brushing a strand of hair back, letting his hand linger at her cheek. "Then I'll keep showing you you're seen." She blushed lightly, leaning into his hand. "You already do." They reached his car but didn't get inside right away. Instead, Mandy leaned back against the passenger door, looking up at him with something warm and hopeful. "You know," she said softly, "I really like where we are now. Not perfect, not blissful, just honest." He stepped closer, hands sliding to her waist. "Me too. And I like that we can laugh again," she said. "I missed that. I missed a lot of things," he admitted. Her smile softened. "Like my face." Kyle lifted a hand to his chin thoughtfully. Your face is all right." "Excuse me," she said, feigning outrage. "My face is premium content." He laughed and kissed her forehead. "Yeah, I missed your face." She grinned triumphantly. "Told you." He kissed her then, slow, warm, the kind of kiss that said we're figuring this out, but we're doing it together. When they finally pulled apart, she whispered, "Can I see you tomorrow? Or is that too clingy?" "It's not clingy," he said. "It's us." Her entire expression softened. "Good, because I want to see you tomorrow." They parted with one last kiss before she slid into her car. Kyle waited until she drove off, hands in his pockets, heart still warm. Whatever this new stage was, felt different, better, realer. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't fear the future. He looked forward to it. Chapter 10, The Future. The new version of them didn't feel like a perfect ending. It felt like a beginning, one built with steadier hands and clearer eyes. A month after the night by the river, Mandy and Kyle found themselves standing in line at the Saturday morning farmer's market. The scent of fresh pastries drifted through the air, and chatter from nearby vendors created a comforting backdrop. Mandy nudged him lightly. "Are you judging the guy in front of us for eating pizza with a fork?" Kyle smirked. "Deeply. See? Growth." She grinned. "You didn't even flinch when he blotted the slice earlier." "I flinched internally," Kyle corrected. "I'm not made of stone." She bumped her shoulder against his. "You're adorable. Don't spread that around," he said. "I have a reputation." She pretended to zip her lips. "Your secret is safe. I only share things with your written consent now." He laughed, and she laughed with him. Effortless, unforced. The kind of laughter that came from comfort instead of tension. After they bought fresh fruit and muffins, they walked to a nearby park. Kyle carried the small bag. Mandy carried her coffee like it was a priceless artifact. They settled on a bench near a group of kids playing tag, the sunlight flickering through the leaves above them. For a moment, they were quiet together. Mandy leaned her head against his shoulder. "You know," she said softly, "I like this version of us." "So do I," Kyle replied. "It feels intentional," she said, "like we're choosing each other every day." He nodded. "That's what I want. Not autopilot. Not assuming things will work because we want them to. I want us to keep doing the work." She laced her fingers with his. "I'm in." A comfortable silence stretched between them as the children shouted happily nearby. Then Mandy shifted, sitting up to face him. "Can I tell you something without you overthinking it?" Kyle arched an eyebrow. "I don't overthink." She snorted. Babe, you outthink NASA. Fair, he conceded. She took his hands, her expression warm but steady. I'm not talking about marriage or rings or forever plans. Not yet. But I want you to know something. He met her eyes, heart thumping a little harder. I see a future with you, she said softly. A real one. Not fuzzy. Not fragile. Something we build on purpose. Slowly. Carefully. But with both of us choosing it. Kyle inhaled, the impact of her words settling deep. She continued, and I'm not asking for a promise. I just wanted to say it, because I mean it, and because I want you to feel chosen. He didn't speak right away, not because he didn't know how he felt, he did. He just wanted to hold the moment gently, like something precious. Finally, he reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Mandy, he murmured, I've wanted clarity for a long time, and the truth is, I think this is what clarity looks like. Not certainty, just choosing each other even when it's hard. Her breath hitched. He squeezed her hand. And if you're building a future, he said softly, I'm right there with you. She blinked rapidly. Are you sure? He nodded. Yeah, I am. She smiled, slow, bright, and real. Good, because I'm really fond of you. He laughed. Only fond. Ridiculously fond, she corrected. Better. She leaned in and kissed him, soft but full of emotion. The kind of kiss that didn't ask for a promise but offered 1,000 small ones anyway. When they pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. So what now? Now? He said. We get muffins. She grinned. You really know how to sweep a girl off her feet. They stood and walked hand in hand back toward the market, the morning sun warming their backs. No sweeping declarations. No dramatic finales. Just two people choosing to keep walking in the same direction. One quiet choice at a time.